Sorry about that. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, Robert Sazowskis.
Good morning, Joy Chance.
Morning, Alex Tuckoff.
Good morning.
Also present via speakerphone is Office of Victim Service Advocate Hamlet Williams. Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Jermaine Smith, 242266.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Jermaine Smith, 242266. He is serving a sentence of 12 years, execution suspended after serving 5 years, followed by 5 years probation for assault first, serious physical injury, and criminal possession of a pistol or revolver. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of May 26, 2026. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan to the offender. It has been reviewed and shows he has completed domestic violence, voices, anger management, and he works as a janitor. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the high range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Smith, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Yes, that I like to say that I am not a threat to society or community. I'm positive. I'm a positive person and productive as well. I'm a small business owner. I have a furniture store. I also work third shift at a grocery store. I'm a workaholic and father of 3, or actually 4, but 3 that live with me, 3 daughters. They're my life. My family is my life. I made a terrible mistake and I regret it every day. It's not my character. I've never done anything like that to anyone. And that's about it. I do apologize and I appreciate your consideration.
Okay, Mr. Smith, thank you very much for your opening statement. So what's going to happen today is that we're all going to take turns asking questions. And when we're done, we're going to listen to the statement from the Office of Victim Services.
Okay.
And then we'll deliberate here and we'll talk about your case and we'll give you an answer today, okay?
Okay, great.
Okay, my colleague, Councilmember Chance, she's going to start with the questions this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Smith.
Good morning, ma'am.
What are you apologizing for?
I am apologizing for my actions and the assault of Crystal Bell, Crystal Bell, the night of 11/3/2019. I shot her with a pistol, and it was just an unfortunate circumstance. It was not premeditated. It just happened in an emotional situation accidentally, and I'm very sorry.
So what caused you to shoot her? Why?
We were engaged in a emotional conversation, and I had a pistol in my jacket, and I was holding on to it while speaking with my hands and whatnot, and I pulled it out and it fired. It happened very, very quickly, and from there I dialed 911. I grabbed the yellow belt and I wrapped her arm up with it, and I just waited for the sirens to get closer, and then I left.
Why did you leave?
It just happened. I was very scared. I was very scared, honestly.
Scared of what?
Consequences, honestly, of my actions.
So you had a gun, you fired the gun, and you were scared?
Yes, ma'am. I've never done that before.
So you're saying that you were having an emotional conversation. So you originally indicated a different story. The victim said that you were both arguing about child support.
Yes, that's it then. It was a conversation about child support.
Very interesting, Mr. Smith. That's what you're saying now. May I just ask you why you didn't complete the PSI report?
I was not available. I was available. But I did not know that it was that day. There was an court date, an eviction court date in Waterbury around that week. And when the officers called me for court, I thought that's what it was. I didn't know it was a PSI hearing. He said I had to go to court. I said, no, my fiance was going to court, and she handled it. And I never knew anything about it until I went to court for sentencing, and I explained that at the hearing, at my sentencing hearing.
Do you remember, you know, this is not your first assault charge.
No, it is not. It is not. In 10 or 11, I was assaulted in a bar. I was actually the victim, but I protected myself, and the courts, I guess they gave some type of consideration to that, and they pretty much just gave me a time served sentence, and with a 3-year probation, unconditional or conditional. I don't know the difference. I just didn't have to report to anyone for 3 years and stay out of trouble. And I pled out to that. And I also sued the bar owner because the police should have been called that night that I was assaulted, and I could have lost my life.
But you ended up with a charge. And
I
by
did.
the way, the one that you're serving time for now is your third. Just so that you know that. Okay.
Correct. Yes,
So-
I understand that.
So the concern is that the court had to require you to do the domestic violence and the anger management. So you completed, can you just tell me one thing that you learned from the voices, domestic violence and anger management?
One thing for each or in a whole?
For each.
For each. Voice with voices, I learned that the violence does not just impact just the victim. It impacts the whole community, family members, my family members, especially my daughter's children, businesses. With anger management, I learned or how to take a time out and step away from situations when they do arise. Domestic, pretty much the same thing as with the anger management. Take time out and breathe and just step back and take a break. Take a pause and think.
Yeah, so DV, for me, is a little bit more involved.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So domestic violence for me is a little bit more involved because it involves, an intimate partner.
Yes, correct.
So-
Yeah.
What else did you take away from that?
From domestic violence class.
Yes. Because
Yes,
wasn't the victim an intimate partner at one time?
At one time, yes, indeed. That's why it hurts It hurt so bad, yeah.
Right.
And that's
So,
another,
It's more than just take time out and step away.
Yes, of course. I'm just in future reference, that's what I'm referring to. In the future, just take time out, breathe, think as I normally would do. But the heat of the moment, that's why I'm here, heat of the moment and complete accident. But I do understand everything you're saying, especially my history.
You have a really extensive criminal history, Mr. Smith. You had 3 community failures and 1 success. So tell me what will be different this time.
I don't know. I'm older. I live a different life, pretty much. That's it. That's it. I'm focused on just working and my daughters.
You know, you said that you were working online during COVID and you had a business.
I do.
So why were you carrying the gun?
There was protection. There was protection of the area that I was around, the area that I was in.
So my understanding is that you said you were carrying the gun because you were selling drugs.
Yes, in the area
So
that I
why
was
can't
in.
you say that?
That's not why I had the gun. I had the gun because of the area that I was in for protection.
Protection from what?
From people in that neighborhood.
I'm just gonna say, Mr. Smith, you know, none of what you're saying makes any sense. Because people usually tell us, I'm carrying a gun because I'm selling drugs. And
Okay.
the other part of the story is, didn't you say somewhere along the line that you had gone there to collect money?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, well, I have no further questions, but thank you for answering.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Smith, I'm just as much confused as my colleague is, because reading the documents, the things that you're saying are not what we're reading. You know what I mean, in the documents, so that's, yeah, it's, you know, this, what we read is that this was a drug deal gone bad. You know what I mean? That's what we read. And now you're telling us that this is about child support. Is that what you're saying?
Everything in the police report. That's what happened.
Okay. All right. And then a couple other things. You describe it as having a gun in your belt or in your pocket or in your pants, but then
My coat, yes.
in your coat, but then you say several times, I heard you use the word accident. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand how an accident is when the gun comes out of your pocket or your pants or your coat. I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would you pull the gun out if it's an accident?
I was talking and I had my hands in my long trench
Okay.
coat pockets, and we were just talking or not talking, but we were being very animated. And when I pulled it out, it fired.
Yeah, but why? You know, that's not an accident. You're in an argument with someone, a disagreement, an emotional conversation, however you're describing it. I get that part. But then
Right.
you reach and you pull the gun out of your coat. That no longer is an accident at that point. Do you know what I mean? When you're introducing a firearm into an emotional conversation, right? With
Yes.
an ex-intimate partner, like my colleague said. So I feel like it's not fair to the victim for you to categorize this as an accident. You were convicted of assault first, That's an
Correct.
intentionally shot her. You know, not an accident, you know, you were cleaning the gun went off and it shot her. That's not what happened here. You know?
Right. I understand,
Oh.
yes.
Yeah, it's just, I don't, you know what I mean? I understand you apologize and I appreciate that in your opening statement. I think that was I'm glad you did that because I think that's the appropriate thing to do. But then to later refer to this as an accident and say, you know, although we were in an argument, you know, the gun went off accidentally, you know, for it to even get out of your coat and then start being involved in this whole incident, to me, that's not an accident. You know what I mean? You're introducing the firearm into the situation that, you know, is already hostile, you know? Okay. I just want you to understand that. The other thing that you said a couple different times, and my colleague alluded to this a little bit, that concerns me is that you said that this is not in your character and that, you know, this was outside of what you would normally do. But then when we look at your record, you know what I mean? You know, it appears that this is in your character. You know what I mean? This does appear to be what your history is. In addition to the assaults, you have interfering with police, other stuff that is, you know, creating a disturbance, things that are like disruptive, you know what I mean? In addition to the assaults that she talked about. So it's concerning without you explaining to us how you've changed. And you just said that you said, I've just gotten older and my life is different now. Is there anything else that you can tell us about how you've changed besides just getting older? How do you think you've changed?
I pretty much stay away from negativity. I'm just a positive person. I stay away from negativity. Haven't gone to, say, when the bar incident happened, I haven't gone to a bar since then, and it doesn't matter what bar, you know. I have friends that are attorneys. I have friends that are federal FBI agents, you know. A judge is a friend, you know, but I still would not go out with them just because. I guess
So you surround yourself with more positive people and try to stay out of places where there could be trouble. You stay away from places where there could be trouble.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you consciously made that change so that you could be a different person and not end up back in this situation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it worked well between that and starting a family. I have she'll be 13 soon, my oldest. Between starting a family and just staying positive, I've been doing very well until this incident. And I'm back in here.
Yeah. So the only other thing that I was just a little confused about, my colleague didn't touch on this, but when I read your release plan, it says that you would like to go to North Carolina to your mother's house. But then I see that you have an employment opportunity in Connecticut. I also see a note here that your wife lives in Connecticut, but do you not want to stay with her? Because you're asking if you stay in Connecticut to go to a halfway house. So it's just a lot of different stuff, and I'm unclear as to what is your actual plan.
She's actually down south now. She went to North Carolina. Now she's in Texas with my daughters. That's why I put halfway house. And for my plan, depending if you guys grant parole or if I wait until I'm end of sentence, I will stay in Connecticut, work at my ShopRite. That's a lifetime job. They can't wait till I get back. I speak to the managers there at least twice a month, and that's available for me. I have, as far as the furniture business, I have 3 suppliers in New England, tri-state area, Edison, New Jersey, Norwich area. I have I have 2 suppliers in Connecticut. My main suppliers in Connecticut and Edison, Boss Furniture in New Jersey. But I like to stay up this way, reestablish everything before I move back to North Carolina.
Okay. All right. Thank you for clearing it up. That helps because I was having trouble understanding. I don't think I caught on to this part about your wife and daughters moving to Texas. I think that was new for me. So that it all makes sense now. Okay, those are all the questions I have, sir. Thank you for answering them. I'm going to see if my colleague, Member Sarkoff, has anything. I don't have any questions. Thank you. Okay. Alrighty, Mr. Smith. So we're done with the questions now. At this time, we're going to hear from the Office of Victim Services.
Okay.
During this time, you can listen, sir, but please don't interrupt, okay?
I will now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, so Chair. Good morning, panel. I
Right.
do have a statement from the victim in this case, and it reads, Dear members of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles, I am writing to strongly and emotionally oppose the parole of Tremaine Smith, inmate number 242266, who shot me on November 3rd, 2019. The trauma from that day has followed me and my children every single moment since. It changed our lives. And what makes this even harder is that the pandemic delayed the entire process of my case, forcing my family to wait in fear while justice was postponed again and again. Despite everything I endured, Mr. Smith still received a sentence that did not reflect the seriousness of what he did to me. It was a light sentence for the damage he caused, and he should not be allowed to leave prison before completing the full time he was given. When he shot me, he didn't just injure me physically. He shattered my sense of security, my health, and my peace. The emotional pain runs deep. I still fight anxiety, fear, and the memories of what could have happened that day. I survived, but the scars, both physical and emotional, never go away. The impact on my children has been devastating. They were forced to grow up in an environment filled with fear and uncertainty. They watched me struggle through pain, emotional breakdowns, sleepless nights, and the fear of simply leaving my home. They lived through the terrifying possibility of losing their parent. This changed their childhood forever. No child should have to carry that kind of fear, but mine did, and still do. Then the pandemic hit, and everything was put on hold. Court dates were postponed. Updates were slow. The entire process was dragged out, leaving me and my kids stuck in a painful limbo. We waited and we worried, while the man who hurt me faced delay after delay that worked in his favor. After all that, the sentence he ultimately received felt painfully light compared to the damage he caused. The time did not match the crime. Now hearing that he may be considered for parole before completing that already limited sentence brings all the fear rushing back. It is unfair, it is unsafe, and it is re-traumatizing. I do not believe he has taken accountability. I do not believe he is ready to safely return to society. And I absolutely do not feel safe knowing he could be released early. My family and I have been working so hard to heal, but early parole would undo much of that progress. The fear alone is enough to reopen deep emotional wounds in my children and me. I understand the board's responsibility to weigh each case carefully, and I appreciate the importance of second chances. But in this situation, a violent offense was committed, lives were permanently altered, and the sentence already fell short of the harm inflicted. Allowing early release would only compound the injustice. For the safety of my family, for the emotional stability of my children, for my ongoing healing, and for the integrity of justice, I respectfully and urgently ask that you deny parole for Tremaine Smith. He must serve the full sentence he was given. Thank you for hearing my voice and for considering the lifelong impact this crime has had on me and my family. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the Office of Victim Services and to the victim for providing that statement. Okay, Mr. Smith, we're done with this portion of the hearing. So we're gonna talk about your case and deliberate, and then we'll come back and give you an answer in just a minute. The same thing goes for this portion. You can listen, sir, but please don't interrupt, okay?
Can I say something before you
Okay,
deliberate?
no, I'm sorry. You cannot make a statement after the victim speaks. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay.
You're
agree
talking-
with the victim though. You shouldn't.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. We will get back to you shortly, okay?
Okay.
Chance.
Mr. Smith started out by saying he's not a threat to society. He's a business owner. He's a father of 4, including 3 daughters. He made a terrible mistake, which he regrets. Then he said he apologizes, but would appreciate consideration for parole. But later on said it was an accident. So for me, all of that is very concerning. Mr. Smith completed the Voices Domestic Violence Anger Management. And he put both anger management and domestic violence in the same category. Said he learned to take time out, step away, breathe, and think. And in terms of voices, he did acknowledge the impact to the community, the victim and the victim's family, and his family, including his children. While I appreciate Mr. Smith completing all 3 programs and has a janitor job, I do not feel, based on the comments and responses he made today, that he was being honest. And I wanted to hear more from him about domestic violence, but he surely was the same as anger management. So all of that was concerning to me. I did not ask him about his release plan because I did not think he was appropriate, but he was suitable for parole today. And so I usually don't ask about release plans when I'm going to the officer. So I'm not in favor of Mr. Smith. I do not think he's suitable for discretionary parole today. I can tell you I have the nature of criminal history and the injury and impact of the victim. So,
Okay, thank you very much, panel member Chance. I think I'll start by just saying that I appreciate in his opening statement that he did make an apology. And that throughout his incarceration, he's had no disciplinary reports during this time, so that was good. And after talking to him about his release plan, I was confused about what I read, but it does seem, after he explained it, to be reasonable. Although, with all that said, he does rate high for risk to recidivate. Said several times that this is out of character for him, but really it's not. Yeah, because his history tells us otherwise. And I could not support this based on the same 3 reasons that you have listed off. And we heard from the victim and the impact that it's made on the victim's family. And I think Mr. Smith at the very end there, I know he wasn't supposed to speak after the victim, but seemed to agree with what the victim was saying, as far as I could tell, and what he said there. So I agree with what you said and the reasons that you laid out. Panel member Sarkar?
I agree with what both of you have stated. Mr. Smith clearly have done good work during this period of incarceration, doing programs and receiving no tickets.
Yep.
But the nature of this offense is just very hard to overcome. In addition to his criminal history, denial say.
Okay. So he doesn't have any special point of follow.
5 years probation.
Okay, so I think we're just ready to make this motion. In regards to Tremaine Smith, inmate number 242266, I'm going to make a motion to deny discretionary parole today based on the nature and circumstances of the current offense, his criminal history, and the injury and impact to the victim and the victim's family. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, Mr. Smith, did you hear all that?
I did. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and I appreciate you giving us the time to work through that, listen to the victim's statement. You're respectful during the whole hearing. We wish you the best of luck, sir.
Thank you. I wouldn't want to hurt them anymore with my release. If you would have granted it, it would have hurt them too much. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith.
242-266. Good morning, Mr. Frost. My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Parole. The following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of the hearing.
Good morning, Robert Sazowski.
Good morning, Joy Chance.
Good morning, Alex Tarkov.
Good morning.
Okay, Mr. Frost, we have a little bit of a change in your hearing today. We've received a request from the Office of Victim Services to continue the hearing to a later date so that they can have the appropriate time to make notifications that are required by the Office of Victim Services.
Okay.
So you're already here, so we thought we'd bring you in and explain what was going on, and then I'm going to make a motion to continue it. Your parole eligibility date is not until May, I believe, next year anyway. May 16, my records. So we're going to make a motion to continue your case. We're not going to proceed with this hearing, and then we will hear this at a later date once they're able to make the proper notifications, okay?
All right.
Okay. So in regards to Keith Frost, inmate number 412668, I'm going to make a motion, continue this hearing to a later date so that the Office of Victim Services can make the appropriate notifications. So I have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, Mr. Frost, good luck to you, okay?
Would I know, would I know
Yeah, you can-
anything?
Someone's going to reach out to you. The parole officer will reach out to you again once they make the right notifications, and they'll give you another date, and we'll do it over again. Keep working on your statement, and then be ready for the hearing when they're ready, okay?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
666. Good morning, Mr. Vidal.
Morning.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Parole. The following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Morning, Robert Sazowski.
Good morning, Joy Chance.
Good morning, Alex Tarkov.
Morning.
Also present this morning is Office of Victim Service Advocate Hamlet Williams. Mr. Vidal, please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Inmate number 445720, name Ricardo Vidal.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Ricardo Vidal, 445720. He is serving a sentence of 12 years, execution suspended after serving 3 years, followed by 10 years probation for sexual assault second, victim less than 16, after is the guardian. Offender is to remain on the sex offender registry for 10 years. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of March 17, 2025. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows he has completed voices and the short track sex offender program. Utilizing statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the low range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the low range. This is, Mr. Vidal, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Can I read something?
Yes, sir.
I would like to thank the parole board of a chance to be heard, an opportunity to express myself. I'd like to start by accepting full responsibility of my action and say how deeply sorry I am for my wrong decision. Hurt and impact the victim and families on both sides, and how low as a person I was by doing something like that. Now, 46-year-old, after 20 years being in the country, making my first offense, and me being a father of girls and not wanting them going through a situation where they get hurt by someone reckless, a monster on the victim's eyes. I want that someone reckless, they hurt somebody's daughter and families. This stood out to me in the program because I related to that most. What I learned from taking life skill or short track is owning up to your mistake and taking full responsibility of your action. On that there are different levels to sexual assault. For instance, I didn't know they can verbally assault someone, which I call verbally sexual harassment. I think back in my days and tell myself that I did allow that by thinking it was a good thing to do, but not knowing that I could have caused deep trauma in their life. I wish I can rewind time to tell myself how stupid and wrongful things it is to be doing that. What voices told me was patience and observation and self-control, learning from how to turn a bad situation into a good one by seeing it before it happens, because I always have a choice to make and get a good outcome on life with the decision I make. What both programs told me was there is always a ripple effect in different ways, but still are the same that led me to, to losing close relationship with my daughters and their mothers. Me losing my job, putting my family on the stress by me being incarcerated from my actions. The program showed me things about myself that I could not see until I was doing the steps and learning the programs and what could have been the cause to me make a wrong decision. I learned selfish, putting people's feelings first instead of mine, awareness, keep my eyes open and recognize when and if I'm going in the wrong path, be more smart, wiser, and acknowledge when and if I need help or help somebody else. I'm thankful for taking the classes because it opened my eyes to things I didn't know and how I act and carry myself. If today I get granted my parole, I want to say I will do my best on everything possible to stay on a positive way and away from anything or anyone that can make me come back to see a problem coming before it happens, which is called relapse prevention. I already got 3 jobs lined up. I also got the support of my mom, my cousin, and others that know me and willing to help me achieve those goals. once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain myself.
Okay, thank you very much for your opening statement, Mr. Vidal. So what's gonna happen now is we're gonna take turns asking you questions.
Okay,
And then when we're done with that, we're gonna hear from the Office of Victim Services. And then after that, we're gonna talk about your case and give you an answer today, okay?
okay.
I'm gonna start with the questions today. So the victim was only 11 years old when this happened. Have you, through the programs, have you figured out why you did this?
In that moment, it was more like stupidity. I was, how you say this? I wasn't desperate in the meaning, but since I wasn't having a personal time with my partner, one situation led to another. And it was, even though that I did see it in the wrong way, I keep moving forward, which that was worse than just keeping to myself.
Okay. How do you think your actions have affected the victim over the time that this has happened?
After taking the classes and realized that, worse than what I thought. Because it's something, emotionally or mentally, and something that she wasn't forget from yesterday to the next day. It's something that's going to be on her for the rest of her life.
Okay. You talked about what you learned in the life skills or sex offender program. You talked about what you learned, right?
Yes.
What do you think you learned there that can help you so that when you're released, this doesn't happen again?
Be more vocal. Because I think that's one of the things that in a scared way of not losing my partner, I keep it to myself instead of being forward and bring that up to the table. Like we can say, that way we can take care of that situation before it went to the next level.
So if you sense any, you're saying to me is that if you sense any risky situations, to talk to somebody about it before it gets into a bad place where you're going to come back to jail.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. And you learned that in the sex offender program?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How do you think you've changed the most since you've been in prison?
It changed everything around on the way I see the stuff or see myself as a person, even though that I'm not a person that is getting into trouble frequently. I'm more aware of my surrounding and I notice different details on how to address the situation and de-escalate.
And you talked about the Voices program in your opening statement, and a little bit more when I think when you talked about how this affected the victim, and you seem to understand or learn that this caused problems outside of the victim, right? Your employment, all kinds of other issues, right?
Mm-hmm. As well as my family, because they count on me for some situation of daily basic, and me taking the wrong decision and doing a wrong action, not only the victim is affecting both sides of the family, because not only the victim will be mom and everybody who's close to the victim, as well as on my side of the family.
It has a big impact what's happened. You know that it's really destroyed all these relationships, you know?
With my mom would be more like I was the one who take her to the hospital, translate for her. She doesn't speak English that much. And
Who's doing that now?
my cousin.
Okay.
and she hardly speak English as well. So, and besides that, grocery shopping, if she gotta go to a long distance drive, usually I'm the one who do that for her.
They wrote letters of support for you, and so they talked about some of that, what the impact on them, you know, that they're trying to do these things and that you used to do them.
Besides that, my cousin was more like, if she was working and something happened, I was more like, go real quick, get her daughter out of school for X reason. If she needed help with something else, I was there.
Okay. Did you have a job while you were in prison? Did you work there?
No, sir.
Did they talk to you about working or anything? Have you heard anything about that?
They mentioned that to me, but they told me it was optional.
Okay. All right. In August, you got a disciplinary report. Can you tell us what happened?
That day I was praying and I had some headphones. I was listening to gospel music and the officer said they want to do a count and I didn't hear the officer's order. Even though that I was on my time, like the way I saw it, still, I have to acknowledge that when he say an order, I have to follow it.
Yeah, you got to pay attention to what's going on around you. You know what I mean? I understand you were busy, but all right. I heard you mention your opening statement that you have 3 jobs waiting for you, and I read about that. Can you just tell us about your release plan, where you want to live, where you're going to work, how this is going to go?
Well, if I get granted that I'm gonna start doing the halfway house, and the first job that I got will be on Amazon. My cousin have my information. That way, once I provide the release date, she can fill out the application. I also talked to my cousin and let her know for her to go back to my old job and talk to my used to be supervisor. That way, he can consider reapply. If I reapply, he can rehire me. And the third one will be with my brother in a tire place, changing tires.
You talked to your brother, and he said that you can do that if these other things don't pan out?
Yep.
Okay. Now, do you have a driver's license?
Yes.
So you're able to drive to work and back from the halfway house or from wherever?
I mean, right now I got to deal with a suspension. I was not, okay, I'm sorry. They suspended license because I failed to appear at court, something that I didn't have no knowledge. But once I paid the fine to restore it, my license will be valid all the way to 2029.
So that's part of your plan to get that straightened out before you start driving, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Don't drive with the suspended license while you're out.
I know better than that. That way I don't have to come back here.
Yeah. Okay, sir, I appreciate you answering my questions. I'm going to hear what my colleagues have to say, and then we're going to go from there, okay?
Okay.
Member Sarkoff.
Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Vidal.
Morning.
You spoke a bit about the impact on the victim. If you could speak to the victim today, what would you say?
There's so much that I would like to say to the victim besides sorry. It wasn't something that I plan or decide to do it. It's something that it happens. But regardless of, my action and decision was the wrong one.
And this didn't happen one time, right? This happened several times.
Yes, sir.
Following your sentence, you have a long period of probation. How do you think you're going to deal with community supervision?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
How do you think you're going to deal with community supervision or probation? Because you have 10 years of probation to follow your sentence.
I think I'm prepared. I can handle.
Is anything going to be difficult for you?
No. I'm not the type of person to be looking for trouble. So I don't see myself reoffending. And like I say, if I notice myself that I'm going in the wrong way, I can actually notice those small details and seek help if I have to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vidal. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Then we have a chance.
Ray, you had indicated that the first couple of times that you were intimate with the victim, that she came on to you.
Yes.
So my question to you is, do you understand what the word consent means?
Now I do.
Now you do, because an 11-year-old cannot get consent. You know that.
Mhm.
And how old were you?
I was 43.
Well, I hope for your sake that you truly understand the meaning of the word consent.
Mhm.
So I did not like the fact that you were blaming an 11-year-old victim. So I hope you think about that and realize that that was wrong. So part of what you spoke about or learned during the short-term sex offender program, that you at the time or during the period that this was occurring, that you were only thinking about your feelings, but not how to control your actions. Would that be accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. So the other thing that you said is that you learned good self-control. So going forward, how do you take control of your actions instead of your feelings?
How self-control, it would be thinking more and make a right choice and be more verbal, more communicated with the person, and acknowledge if the situation would be escalating to the next level of reoffending, and control myself from going to the next level and offend somebody or take a wrong action or decision.
So going forward, if you were to, encounter a similar situation where you are in a relationship with someone that has children, and as you mentioned, in that relationship, you were not having any personal relationship with the person you were with, so you turn to the person's daughter. What if you're in that kind of relationship again, the same thing occurred? How would you handle that situation?
If me having a new partner, how we communicate to the partner, how we address the situation, and how we acknowledge the situation might happen or what is going on. That way we can address and stop that from escalating to something worse.
Okay. That seems fair. So I know my colleague asked you what you would say to the victim if she were listening today. And you said you know, that you were sorry and you apologized. But I think there is a little bit more that you need to acknowledge in saying that it was not the victim's fault, because I think that's how you made her feel. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So I think, and you have to decide whether you want to say that apology includes the fact that you did not blame her and that it was totally your fault and she was not old enough to give consent. So you saying it was her, he came on to you.
In the beginning, yes, I addressed that. But after going through the program, that's when I realized it was the other way around.
Well, I'm glad you understand that. So thank you for answering the question.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I have a chance? Okay, Mr. Vidal, so we're gonna hear from the Office of Victim Services now. During this time, you can listen, sir, but please do not interrupt, okay?
All right.
Thank you. Ms. Hamlet Williams.
Yes, thank you, Sir Chair. I have heard from the parents of the victim who submitted a statement today. To the parole board, we, the parents of the minor victim, GFR, are writing to express our strong and unwavering opposition to granting parole to Mr. Ricardo Vidal. Our child was a minor at the time of the offense committed by Mr. Vidal. The crime caused severe emotional, psychological, and developmental harm, the effects of which continue to impact our daughter's life and our family. As parents, it has been extremely painful to witness the long-lasting trauma that this crime has caused. The healing process for a minor victim of such an offense is complex, ongoing, and often lifelong. Granting parole to Mr. Vidal would not only reopen the trauma experienced by our child, but it would also minimize the seriousness of the offense committed against a vulnerable minor. We firmly believe that early release would not serve justice, nor would it adequately reflect the gravity and long-term consequences of his actions. We respectfully urge the parole board to deny parole for Mr. Ricardo Vidal. We believe he should serve the full sentence imposed to ensure accountability, uphold justice, and protect the emotional safety and well-being of our daughter and family. Sincerely, parents of the victim, GFR. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the Office of Victim Services and to the victim's family for providing that statement. Mr. Vidal, we're done with this portion of the hearing, so we're going to talk about your case now, and then we're going to come back and give you an answer.
Okay.
Same thing during this time while we're talking, please do not interrupt, okay?
All right.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Vidal is here for a sexual assault, like we spoke about, an 11-year-old child. He's able today to talk about what he learned from his programs and how it's going to be different when he gets out. He's learned that it's important for him to communicate. He's recognized that through programming that a child cannot consent, you know. Question him about different things related to that. You know, he did get a disciplinary report recently in August. The nature of his minor is still concerning to me because, you know, there are rules like anything else that you have to abide by when you're incarcerated, you know. You know, and in that statement from the victim's family, it was certainly impactful to me. So, although I do recognize that Mr. Vidal has done well in his programs and his release plan seems reasonable to me. The nature and circumstances of this, you know, the impact on the victim and the victim's family, and then for institutional adjustment for getting a ticket just 4 months ago. for me, I don't find him suitable for discretionary parole today.
The violence.
Okay.
I don't need that for the same reasons.
Okay. It looks like he has probation to follow and no parole, so we don't need to make anything else. Is there anything else we need to do here before I make a?
No, yes, 10 years done. So,
He doesn't have much time left, so he can continue on with programming, maybe get a job in the facility and get ready to go out and work. Okay, in regards to Ricardo Vidal, inmate number 445720, and make a motion to deny discretionary parole today based on the nature and circumstances of the current offense, the injury and impact to the victim and the victim's family, and important institutional adjustment for disciplinary reports. Do I have a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Vidal, we recognize the work you've completed with the programs and, but we could not grant you discretionary parole today for the reasons that we stated on the record, okay?
Okay.
You don't have a lot of time left, sir, so I would try to use that the best you can. If you can try to get a job during this time, I mean, to me, that would seem to be appropriate, so that way you're ready to work when you get out, you know?
Okay.
Ready, good luck to you, sir.
You have a good day.
This concludes the parole hearing for Ricardo Vidal, 445720.
Mr. Lewis.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis.
Good morning.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Parole. Following board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certified to review all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, Robert Sazowski.
Good morning, George Katz.
Good morning, Alex Tucker.
Good morning.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Yes, Roderick Lewis, 332929.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Roderick Lewis, 332929. He is serving a sentence of 14 years followed by 6 years special parole for home invasion with a dangerous weapon or explosive and risk of injury to a child. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of November 11, 2025. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender is currently participating in the prison arts program. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the low range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Lewis, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Thank you. I actually wrote something.
You can go ahead and read it, sir. Yep.
Okay, thank you. First, I would just like to thank everyone for allowing me to speak today. And I believe that I deserve parole because I did all the necessary work in order to become a productive member of society. And the man I am today can bring value to my community. I made a conscious decision to use this time as an opportunity for growth because I couldn't let this sentence be just another waste of time. There was a lot of personal issues that I had to address, the root cause as to why I was the person I had been, from unresolved trauma from my childhood and sometimes debilitating anxiety to relearning myself as someone being on the spectrum. I self-medicated as a means to an end, but doing the proper work allows me to now go through life clean and sober. I have successfully completed a court-mandated intensive outpatient program and anger management program through Catholic Charities before being charged for this crime. And I say that to say, completing those programs previously, I learned the tools that I needed to be drug-free or use alternative solutions other than violence. I acquired the knowledge, but I was never in the right headspace to apply what I knew. Since I've been incarcerated, I've been drug-free and without any physical altercations in nearly 12 years. I just utilized the tools that I already had, and once I resolved a lot of my underlying trauma, I lost the temptation and the need to do drugs. I also applied the tools to manage my anger, like conflict resolution, or more importantly for me, preventative conflict interactions, like simply staying conscious of how I say things so that I don't offend people or make them defensive. And that was a real challenge for me due to my personal complications with reading people or social situations. Since I've been incarcerated, I went back to school and received my diploma within 3 months. I started my own business, Rain Enterprises, which is a consultant firm, but we also offer personal credit repair, business credit building, and advanced credit stacking strategies. I've learned civil and criminal law to the point that I was able to successfully litigate multiple cases on my own over the last several years on a state and federal level. I took a parenting course through the life skills program so I could have a better understanding of how to effectively communicate and interact with my children. And I've been part of the prison arts program for the last several years. And upon my release, I have a promising position working with Community Partners in Action on multiple different fronts, from instructing art therapy classes for at-risk youth to partnering with different cities to paint murals. Although I can't really address the issues directly due to pending litigation, I can say that I take full accountability for my actions, and I should have never put myself in any position to end up in a situation that landed me here. The night this happened, I was supposed to be home with my family. At the time, I had a 6-year-old daughter, and my kid's mother was 6 months pregnant with my son. But beyond my own personal outcome, there was a lot of people impacted, including the victims, and I wish things could have been different. I can't go back and change anything that happened, but I realized that I can change who I am and how I intend to live, how I interact with people, and how I respond to situations, because real change starts with me. And all I can ask is that you see me for the man I am today, opposed to the person I had once been. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lewis, thank you very much for your opening statement. So what's going to happen now is we're going to take turns asking you questions. And then when we're done, we're going to talk about your case, deliberate, and we'll give you an answer today, okay?
Okay.
My colleague, panel member Sarkoff, he's going to start with the questions this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis.
Good morning.
You've covered a lot of ground in your opening statement, but you haven't really talked much about what actually happened that led to your incarceration. What can you tell us about what happened?
I mean, again, with all due respect, there is pending litigation, but I can say that a lot of it, I take accountability for the fact that my actions led to the end result. Like, it was a situation where I could have walked away. I could have made 100 different decisions, and over the last 12 years, like, I've really seen every other option after the fact. It was an impulsive decision which affected a lot of people negatively, and I am remorseful for that.
Do you deny committing the home invasion?
Essentially, yes, because there's, like I said, there's pending litigation, and in the federal court, they already ruled that the arrest was retaliatory based on the arresting officer. But again, it was a situation where I was at the house, I was at the residence, and there was an altercation which could have been prevented if I would have not have been so impulsive and just made better decisions.
What about all the witnesses?
I mean, essentially, I can't really speak to them. I can't really say, like, as far as what motivated them to make the statements they made. But again, like I said, that's all I can really do is take accountability for my part in it. And I know that my actions negatively affected people.
Did I see somewhere that you stated, I think it was to a parole officer in your interview, that you believe the witnesses were coerced by the police to make false statements?
Yes. Well, again, like I said, the federal court ruled that the arrest was made in retaliation. because like me and the arresting officer had a previous engagement where, well, interaction where he actually threatened me to arrest me, and he's arrested like within 6 months, which I made a citizen's complaint about, and ultimately this arrest soon followed after.
Just trying to figure out why would the witnesses give a false testimony in this case, and there was quite a number of witnesses.
Honestly, like I said, I can't really speak to the witnesses or their motive to giving the statements that they gave, but only thing I could do is speak for myself, unfortunately.
And you did not accept responsibility for the gun either?
Well, the gun, there was a gun present, but the gun wasn't mine in my possession.
What was it?
Honestly, I don't know, because like I explained to Ms. Logan, there was an altercation, and I was struck in the head, and in the midst of this altercation, there was a gun. It was like a lot of it happened so fast.
Were you intoxicated during the time of the offense?
No,
Not at all?
I had a drink. I had a drink previously, like earlier that night, but it was. I really don't drink. I drink socially.
At sentencing, your attorney did speak about your substance issues at the time. Do you think you had problems with substances?
Actually, that's one of the things I actually addressed in my letter too, is that I was struggling because of like, it was kind of a self-medicating situation where I was dealing with a lot of issues mentally, I would say. Like, it's like debilitating anxiety, just mind racing constantly. And I wasn't man enough at the time to actually ask for help, the proper help that I needed. And since I've been in, I did like address a lot of the issues that I was dealing with no medication, with just me and my thoughts and my issues and my trauma, and properly addressing them the way they're supposed to be.
Okay, and you mentioned pending litigation. Can you just talk about what that is? What are you litigating exactly?
But actually, there's a motion to vacate that's pending based on the retaliatory arrest, and there was other issues that was like more within the court where it was like violations due to documents, not like exculpatory evidence that wasn't getting handed over to the defense during the pretrial issue. So,
And this is litigation in state courts?
yes.
And what is the status of that now?
Actually, it's just pending because during this time of year, like the state courts don't really do too much as far as like the holidays, and it's normally like the beginning of the year, the top of the year.
All right, I'll move on. You've been incarcerated quite a long time, and you haven't really completed a lot of programs. Why do you think that is?
Well, actually, there was programs on my OAP that was just suddenly removed. I was called in one day to sign the paper, and I signed, and that was the next thing I knew, that all the programs was taken off my OAP.
Was it at your request that they were removed, or why were they removed from your OAP?
No, honestly, I'm not actually sure. I was never really given an explanation. But outside of that, like I took like independent courses through the life skills program. I took a parenting course, which I have a certificate for.
As far as you know, you're not really sure why the certain programs were removed and added and then removed again?
No, I was never notified as to why.
Okay. You did talk a bit about your work with the Community Partners in Action. Can you just
Yes.
speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, so actually I've been involved in because Community Partners in Action is, if I'm not mistaken, the prison arts program is through them. So like I've been in the prison arts program for for close to 7 years. And the art teacher actually sees he sees potential in me and he sees my character. So he offered a bunch of different like potential job positions once I'm released, as far as like doing art therapy with at-risk youth, because he know my history, he know how long I've been incarcerated, and he sees that I might have something to offer as far as like steering kids on the wrong path, like back into a place where they can either like find help for their trauma or just find a different path than the one they're taking.
We did receive a letter from Community Partners in Action. I didn't read the letter as an offer of employment, but I think in the letter that it was stated that you discussed the possibility of working part-time with CPA, right?
Yes.
Something along those lines. Okay.
Yes.
Is that something you're interested in?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you talk about your release plan?
Okay, well, essentially I have, like I said, I have a business in which we do business credit, personal credit repair. And so like my main plan with that is to expand, because like I have room for expansion, but under the circumstances, I can't expand until I'm actually out there, because the financing is there to expand, to hire more, more employees, to take on more clientele, because we actually been turning down a lot of the clientele for over the last year. But essentially that, and then like I was looking for something more to like be more consistent as far as like working, because that's essentially it'd be a side project until it expands it to a point where it can fully finance me and the things that I need to do. So I was actually considering working at a separate place with Community Partners in Actions, possibly. Yeah, just trying to. I really want to pursue my purpose. Like I've over the last few years, I actually became really good at painting. Like that's something that I feel like I got a true calling for. And I mean, essentially that's the only plan I can really see as of right now is just to work, and I mean, just rebuild my life.
What do you think is going to be difficult when you're released?
Honestly, I feel like the biggest difficulty I face is just getting out of my own way, getting out of my head. But at the same time, I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I'm not too proud to ask for help and to seek help when I need it, opposed to just trying to handle everything on my own.
What do you think you've learned from this incarceration?
I mean, I learned a lot. I learned to be more empathetic and more compassionate to not only to myself, but to others, because I was like my biggest critic for the longest. And I was so hard on myself, and I held myself to a like almost impossible standard. And like finding the humanity within myself allowed me to see the humanity in others and that common oneness with people. Because for so long I felt isolated, and then it took for me to actually be isolated in order to find the unity within it.
I think that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for answering my questions.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Councilmember Chance.
Mr. Lewis, what are you taking responsibility for today?
Yes, like I said, I'm taking responsibility for my actions in the
What
situation.
action is that?
I mean, my actions of being impulsive and engaging in the altercation that led to this arrest, because I had the opportunity to walk away. I had plenty of opportunities to do a bunch of different things, and that's something that I failed to do in that moment. And the negative impact that to the victims, to everybody, like I didn't realize the extent of my actions and how far spread it would go.
Well, Mr. Lewis, your charge is home invasion, but I hear you talking about impulsive decision-making that affected everyone negatively. But you said in the next breath that you denied committing the home invasion. So can you be a little clearer to me so that I understand exactly what you're taking responsibility for?
Yes. As I explained to Miss Logan, there was it was essentially a gambling house that I was at. I was there playing cards, and there was a dispute about whether or not the money should be paid out, in which and like based
So
on
you
that.
went there to gamble?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
go on.
Yes, and there was an altercation based on whether or not I was supposed to be paid, in which, like I said, I acted impulsively, and
So during the gambling, you won X amount of money,
yes,
and the altercation was about whether they were going to pay you that money.
yes.
And then what happened?
Well, it was a verbal, it was verbal, and it got heated. And basically, the money that I bought in with, because that was kind of my compromise, it got to a point where I just said, just give me the money back that I bought in with. As far as because I didn't even, not even I was willing to compromise the winnings. I said, just give me the money that I bought in with, and that was denied. And
Was that the $300?
no, the 300 was actually the winning. I bought in with $100.
Oh, so you came in with 100, you won 300.
Yes,
When the altercation came about, you wanted to settle it by just saying, give me back my $100.
yes.
And then what happened?
Like I said, that was denied, but the money that I bought in with was actually on the counter in the kitchen. Like we were playing at the kitchen table, the money was on the counter at the in the kitchen. So at that point, I felt like people were just being inconsiderate of the situation, and I got up to grab my money back from the basket on the counter.
So why do you think they call it home invasion?
Honestly, I can't really say, because the police report read completely different from the actual situation that happened. And there was questions on whether or not, because even in the police report, they kind of let it to be not a gambling house. They just said it was kind of a friendly game, when they were known for having this house just to gamble. They kind of had a circuit of gambling. But I mean, that's the best I could kind of come up with, is the fact that they was just trying to cover themselves and not exposing the fact they had a gambling house.
So could it have been that you previously lost the money and they didn't give it to you, so you went back to get it?
No, honestly, because the money, and that's the thing, because the money wasn't really the issue. It was, I feel like personally, it was more of a pride thing, because I went there with I went there with $2,000, because initially I was supposed to go to Mohegan Sun, but the weather was so bad and I had to be back first thing in the morning to go to probation. So I tried to find something local.
I thought you said you went there with 100.
No, I bought in with 100, but I had $2,000 on my person. There's somewhere close. I believe it was anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000.
It's just a little confusing for me. But
No,
on
I
your
understand.
OAP, it says you have an addiction services referral, a job, and the code that they have listed, they think it might be for New Thoughts. And if it's New Thoughts, it would make sense because it replaced Good Intention, Bad Choices, which was originally on your OAP. So, your drug score is 3, you had problems with PCP, so it is appropriate that the programs that they have on there, and you need to have a job assignment.
Okay.
Okay, and I know you've been incarcerated for about, what, 9 years?
No, I'm actually for 12. Next week it'd be 12 years.
Okay, so the offense date is December 2013. Okay, all right. Okay, well, I don't have any further questions, Mr. Lewis. Thank you for answering my Chair.
Thank you, Panelmember Chance. Okay, Mr. Lewis, just a couple of things. There was some talk about PCP, and my colleague did ask you if you had been drinking alcohol before this happened, but I don't know if it's been clarified to me to know whether you were using PCP that day before this occurred.
No, actually I wasn't. I was not, because I was a part of Catholic Charities in my probation. Like I was already that, and that's part of why, because I had a dirty urine. So like I was kind of on a no tolerance.
Okay. Because it said that the last time you used PCP was 2013, and this happened in 2013, but you're saying that there was a problem, during your probation where you had a relapse, but it was prior to this.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then the other question I had is that you've been on supervision 4 times and you haven't been successful yet in the past. And you were on probation when this happened. So what will be different this time?
I mean, actually,
Why would you be able to succeed this time? Yeah.
Actually, I feel like I'll be able to succeed because, for one, I'm older and more mature, and I don't involve myself with the type of people I was involving myself with before. And I made a strict rule of that, even being incarcerated. Like I keep myself around like-minded people who have the same goals and aspirations that I do. And I believe that was my biggest issue, was just like the people that I was around and just negatively influenced. And sometimes you just succumb to the group setting opposed to being individual, like just being the individual you are.
Yeah. Have you heard people say people, places, and things? You hear that saying at all?
Yes, absolutely. And I learned that in the drug program. Like, and those are things that lead you back to your old ways.
So you have to just keep that all in mind. If you just keep repeating the same behavior, right, you're going to get the same outcome. The facts of the case and everything, we can debate it back and forth, but you put yourself in a bad situation for sure. We can all agree on that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other thing I want to talk about is programs, because you say that you didn't go offer any programs, but I have some information, some notes that I read that you refused some program. Is that true?
Well, it was actually one program. It was life skills at the time.
Yeah.
But the attorney that I had during that time, he actually advised me against it because he was working on something to get a charge removed from my case.
I understand that, but when you start refusing programs, that's when they say, well, he's not going to take programs. We're going to take him off his OAP. You see how it could cascade into other problems. You know what I mean?
Okay, I understand that.
And I have never heard that taking a program is an admission of guilt. I mean, it's just, you're trying to better yourself. So, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but my advice would always be for someone to try to take any programs they could get, to try to better themselves. Maybe there's something you pick up from a program, and maybe it's not directly related to this case, but maybe there's just something that will help you. You know what I mean? So that's all. Yeah. It's hard when we want to see you do programs and then we hear and read that you're refusing programs, I understand. I understand. I read that situation that you're describing, and I can, that's gotta be a difficult situation to be in, to be offered that kind of a program. And then there's this discussion about whether you should be in it or not. I get it. But I think it might have interfered with your other programs too, if you're refusing, you know.
Okay.
It could have, I don't know, you know, but it's unusual to see someone that has done this much time and not have completed really all of the programs that are required of you, you know? So, okay, I think we're done with the questions, sir. We're gonna talk about your case now. You can listen during this time. Please don't interrupt. And then when we're done here, we'll come back and we'll give you our answer, okay?
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Member Sark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Mr. Lewis was on probation when he made a very serious offense of home invasion and risk of injury to a child. There were a number of children who were in the house. Now, he says he takes responsibility for being impulsive and being part of the altercation. But his account is just so vastly different from what we read in the police report and other official documents. It's very difficult to reconcile.
Yeah.
Talked about pending litigation. He's been incarcerated a long time and he's not really completed a lot of programs. He has been an active member of prison arts program, Connecticut Partners in Action. Has done good work there and might even have a potential part-time job opportunity once he's released. He has good family, support system. For me, the nature of this offense is just so difficult to overcome. And then you had his criminal history and his prior record of failure in community supervision. It's very difficult to overcome. So I've had very serious concerns in reading this file, and I continue to have serious concerns.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it sounded pretty good today, but you know, when you dig into what happened and I understand he doesn't want to really get into it too much because he has pending litigation, but it's difficult for us to try to sort out ourselves, you know, what took place here. He does take some responsibility, at least for understanding that he contributed to this, I guess, at the least, right? I wish he would have done some programs, you know. He said it's the addiction services, voices, anger management, maybe new thoughts, all those kinds of things.
The New Thoughts program, I thought would have been a good one for him.
I know. I understand he's trying. He's in the arts program, and that is good. And he's doing some other courses outside of that. But for us, we need to see, you know, he did say not on this specific night, but shortly before this, he was struggling with substance abuse. You know, does not indicate
While he was out of probation.
Yeah, he has never been successful at probation, so it just puts us in a funny spot. I mean, there's just not a lot of positive things for us to base our decision on. Does have 2 years left, so I mean, is there anything you wanted to add, Member Chance?
You know, I guess I can understand why he doesn't say too much, but I'm looking for what would be different this time when he goes out. Had he taken the addiction services program and the New Thoughts program, you know, I would have been more inclined to support, you know, going out. But at this point, because he's failed all those other 4 times, and it's concerning that he's been incarcerated for 12 years. I get the feeling Mr. Lewis is his own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of his problem. I don't see how taking programs could have been negative.
Yeah.
It would have added, even when some of those other programs like the Voices that was on his OAP, had he taken that, you know, something.
Yeah, it's just empathize maybe with the victims a little bit.
Exactly,
You know,
exactly. And
the addiction services, maybe if he came and it's like explained like a structured relapse plan, you know, these are the steps.
and, you know, his relapse prevention plan or release plan is he can work at CPA doing art therapy or work at a painting company and going to, you know, couples counseling. He has family support, but we needed a little more
Yeah.
to show that even though he screwed up the last 4 times, that this time he has a better release
Yeah.
plan that would support him going out.
He has 2 years left from now. You know, if he had the right programs and was here to be able to talk to us about what he learned,
So
you know,
there's 1 or 2 ways that we can go. We
Mhm.
can deny him just that special parole, or we can deny and give him a rehearing 1 year since he has 2 years to go.
yeah, I mean, what do you think? I don't know, start talking about a reyear.
I'm open to over here.
I am
To have
too,
a chance to take a couple programs
Yeah.
ideally.
because I hear some positive things from him. His outlook, you know, I guess best way to say it is how he's changed and he wants to be different. So like he wants to do those things, but we need to see evidence of it in programming, right? You know? So are we okay with, if we did November 26th, it would be 11 months,
Yeah.
but that would be from a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just, he has a number of programs, so we could just say any positive programs, no DRs. Is that okay with you?
But right now, it's OEP says addiction services job, and they believe that
Those are a
that
priority.
There is
Yeah.
for new thoughts.
Yeah.
So he could do his OAP in any other positive program.
Yeah, I agree. I think he should really, I wouldn't turn down any programs if I was in that
Right,
situation.
exactly.
I understand what his lawyer, and I get the situation that program was about, but, you know, having something is better than nothing. You know, talk about some things that you learned. Let's talk about the reasons, back. I had poor performance while in community release, so that would include his past problems and his current probation situation.
Mhm.
Is that okay? Inadequate program participation, right?
Yeah.
Because that's pretty much what this is about. Is there a third one that anybody would like to see?
Well,
Yeah, nature.
the nature,
Yeah, I'm fine with that. It's a pretty serious, the charge and the conviction as it reads in the reports is very serious.
Yeah.
I understand his version is different. So we don't need to set special parole conditions at this time because we'll revisit those next
we're
year.
rehearing.
So, okay, I'm gonna make a motion. I think we're ready. In regards to Roderick Lewis, inmate number 332929, I'm gonna make a motion to deny discretionary parole today based on the nature and circumstances of the current offense, inadequate institutional program participation, and poor performance while on community release. I'm gonna further move to rehear this case in November of 2026. The following recommendations: complete any positive programs, including programs on your OAP, and receive no additional disciplinary reports. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, Mr. Lewis, did you hear what happened?
Yes, yes.
We recognize your willingness to do better, and we hear in your voice that you want to, you don't want this to be a continuous thing where you're in and out of jail. And we want to see you do better. So we want to rehear you again. It's going to be in 11 months. That'll still give you a year on parole before your special parole starts. If you're able to get programs and come back and talk about what you learned,
Okay.
and then see where we go from there. It's not a guarantee you're going to get parole that day, sir, but we really feel like you need the programs that they have said that you should be taking, like addiction services, new thoughts, voices. Though any programs you can get into, try to complete them.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Good
Yes.
luck to you.
Okay. Thank you. You have a good day.
This concludes the parole hearing. Was 332929.
Gilliam? Is that how you say it? Got Mr. Gilliams.
Morning, Mr. Williams.
Good morning.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Monday, December 1st. 2025, and this is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, Robert Sazowskis.
Good morning, Joy Chan.
Morning, Alex Tarkoff.
Good morning.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Marcus Gilliam, 363-660.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Marcus Gilliams, 363-660. He is serving a sentence of 6 years execution suspended after serving 30 months, followed by 3 years probation for criminal possession of a firearm, ammunition, or defense weapon. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date, January 3rd, 2026. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows he has not completed any programs. He is on the wait list for new thoughts, a job, and alternatives to violence. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Gilliams, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Okay, I would like to start by apologizing for my actions. During this time, I had time to reflect to reflect and understand the seriousness of my actions. The situation could have been worse. I could have hurt somebody as well as myself. I'd like to take the time to apologize to my children. I let them down emotionally and disappointed with my actions. My 16-year-old daughter, who is now 17, wouldn't talk to me for 10 months. Once upon a time, she was my best friend. That truthfully hurt me the most. When we finally spoke, I apologized for putting her and her siblings through this, and sorry for not being there when she needed me the most. She expressed to me how much it's accepted her. This is her last year of high school, and she expected her father to be there for her senior prom, her graduation, and to pick out colleges. I would also like to apologize to my wife. I left her with the carrying of responsibilities. And I disrespected our vows. I take full accountability of my actions. I'm going to fix my marriage and fix myself because I can't fix anything without fixing myself first. I wrote multiple requests trying to get in the programs, and each time I wrote them for a program, they told me they told me to stop writing them, that I'll be notified when the time comes. I also applied for Voc Ed, and I got the same response for that. So I'll be put on a waiting list and I'll be notified for that. And also a job simulation. When I came to Brooklyn, they did a job simulation. I participated in that. That taught you how to transition from being incarcerated to going back to this society. Even though I've been put on a waiting list, I utilize my time with reading multiple mental health books, transitional from prison to the society books, and I also got closer to God by reading the Bible. This past weekend, I formed a men's prayer group. And, when I closed my eyes and started praying, I thought I was going to be the only one. And when I briefly opened my eyes, I had a surrounding of men surrounding me, trying to get the prayer. Also within that prayer, I also had the correction officers participate in the prayer. After the prayer was done, I went to the officer's bubble and I thanked him for participating in a prayer. He said he also congratulated me on thanking for the prayer, the good word. He called me the shepherd of the dorm. I take full responsibility for my actions. I plan on being released, I plan on going back to my job as a CDL truck driver at Bazookas, as the job I was holding before. And I also plan on going back to college for criminal justice to obtain a criminal justice degree to be a part of probation or parole. Mm-hmm. And I also plan on to make sure that I never miss the opportunity to be with my children again. And I would never put them through this, my wife through this, or my family through this again. And I also, in the next 5 years, I would also like to apply for my pardon. Mm-hmm. And when I apply for my pardon, if I'm granted parole, I would like to support a parole, probation, a pastor and my professor to show how extremely well the job I did on probation, parole, and transitioning back into the community.
Okay, thank you very much for your opening statement, Mr. Judge. Said some good things in there with apologies and accepting responsibility and your short-term and long-term plan. I appreciate you putting that all together. What's going to happen now is we're going to take turns asking questions. And then when we're done, we're going to deliberate about your case, and then we'll give an answer today, okay?
Okay. Yes,
And
sir.
my colleague panel member Chance is going to start with questions.
Okay.
Yes. Ms. Gillian, I certainly appreciate everything that you shared us, including how you've been spending your time.
Thank you.
And you have not received any disciplinary reports this incarceration. So
No.
those are all positive things.
Yes. Thank you.
So here's my concern. This is not your first gun charge. Right?
It's technically my first gun charge. When I had the first degree robbery, I didn't realize that was a gun charge until I went to probation.
Mr. Gilliam, it's on your record since
Yes, I
it
understand.
occurred.
Yes, it was first
You
degree.
had to have had a gun in order to get that charge.
So to explain that case, with that case that happened, I was driving my car and got ran over ran off the road by a truck driver. When I got ran off the road by a truck driver, I immediately cut the truck driver off and approached him. I didn't have a gun. I didn't even have a weapon at that in effect. So what happened was I approached him and said, "Why are you trying to cut me off the road?" And then he said he was falling asleep. He didn't mean to cut me off. I took it the wrong way because I told him I'm a truck driver too, and truck drivers like to cut people off the road. And then I left. I broke the mirror on the hood bracket. My trunk popped open. When the trunk popped open, I immediately closed it. And then they seen me waving my phone. They thought I went to my trunk and grabbed a gun. They ended up trying to switch the charges to first degree threatening criminal mischief. The lawyer I had at the time said that wasn't a good deal. We fought that case for 5 years. And at that time, Judge White came back with the original charges of first degree robbery and criminal mischief and what was the other one? And reckless driving.
About two different events, Mr. Gilliam.
Say that again?
You're talking about two different events because when you were charged with carrying a dangerous weapon, you were also charged with assault second. Okay? Then in July of 2023, you were convicted of the robbery first, criminal mischief second, and violation of probation. And then reckless driving.
Yeah, the assault second charge, the weapon charge in that case was a brass knuckles.
And in any case, Mr. Gilliam, you've also failed your last 3 community releases. Okay, so here you are before us, and as I said, I do appreciate how you're spending your time.
Yes.
But on your list, you have New Thoughts, which is a good program for you, Alternative to Violence, and a job assignment. Do you have a job assignment?
I had a job assignment when I was at Carl Robinson, and they put me here, and they said I'll be placed on a waiting list for a job.
Okay, so those are the programs on your OAP.
Yes.
And, you know, because of the criminal possession of a firearm, and I guess your excuse was, what you told the parole officers that you were addicted to the club scene.
Yes, I was doing club security.
Right, but you knew that as a felon, you weren't supposed to have a gun.
Yes, I understood.
Okay. So, for me today, I really would like to see you complete those programs before I can consider you suitable for parole. And I like the fact that you have not had any DRs and you're spending your time wisely. So I hope that sooner than later, they will call you for programs.
Okay,
Okay? All right.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Councilmember Chance. So, Mr., can you just pronounce your last name, Gilliams?
Yes, Gilliams, that's correct.
Okay. Did you ever have a security guard card, like a security guard license to do this kind of work?
No,
But you were dressed in a security uniform with a handgun.
yes,
How are you? I don't understand how a business hired you to do that without being licensed.
yes,
Right. I mean, you know that you're not supposed to do that, right? Do you understand that you need a license, a security guard license to be a security guard in Connecticut?
yes, I understand that.
You must know other people that are security guards that have a license, right? You probably have heard of that. There's a process to take a class. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And part of your release plan, I thought I read that you could go back to doing security again. Was that part of your release plan?
No, that's not part of my release plan.
Okay.
They said they said if I wanted to come back, but I'm not going back.
Okay. Yeah, that should not be part of any of your plans.
Yes,
You understand? Yeah, you have a CDL, my friend. A lot of people don't have that. So, I mean, you have a way to make good money, better than being a security guard, you know?
yes, yes, sir.
CDL is better job. I would put that security stuff aside until you work through your long-term plan that you talked about with all of
Yeah.
those other things, you know what I mean? That's,
Yes,
after all that's done, that's when you can go back to trying to work in law enforcement or security or some fashion, but not during, because there's gonna be a background check as far as the security process and all of that, you know what I mean?
yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure that was clear, because I thought somewhere, but what you were probably saying was that you were offered opportunity to go back to that job when you're out.
Correct. That's what I was implying.
Okay. All right. I think my colleague touched on everything else. There's not much else for me to ask. I just wanted to make sure it was clear to you. Now, do you think that this was an accident when this gun went off?
It was an accident, but sometimes I feel like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
To where,
How did
Like
it go
us.
from the gun? Where do you normally keep the gun? In your pants, in your pocket, in your jacket, in a holster?
In my
Where was it?
in my pants, all wrapped around the belt.
So it sounds like you're in an argument, like an emotional argument, right?
Yes,
Disagreement with someone? And how
Correct.
does the gun get out of your pants and then now in your hand? You know what I mean? That's the part that's not an accident. It didn't fall out, right?
no, it was coming out. It was like moving around a little bit to
Okay.
where it was going to drop. So
Okay.
when I tried to unbuckle and grab it, it was dropping, and that's when it came off, and it went from the back part to the ground. That's where
And
it
then
says.
this was during an emotional argument with someone that this started coming loose.
The argument really didn't take place while the gun went off. The argument took place like around after the argument, right there.
Okay. All right, because the reports were that you're involved in this argument and you fired off the gun into the ground. It makes it sound like you were trying to scare the person or trying to.
Yeah, I understand.
And that's-
That's not, because they came after the gun went off. They only seen the argument.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So, having a pistol permit and having a gun legally, it requires a lot of training, all kinds of things, so that accidents like this don't happen. You know what I mean?
Yes, I understand.
So you circumvent that, then these kinds of things might happen. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Sarkoff.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. We're all done with the questions, sir. We're going to talk about your case. You can listen, but please don't interrupt during this time, and then we'll give you our answer shortly.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Chance.
Miriam, expressed that he understands the seriousness of it. How we read it occurred was that he had a disagreement with someone and took the gun out and shot it in the ground. Today, he's saying that it went off by accident. I do appreciate that while he was at another facility, he took the job simulation program that, help him to understand what he needs to do in order to return to society. While I appreciate participating in the prayer group with other offenders and not getting any DRs, the nature of the crime is such that the programs on his OAP are very appropriate for Mr. Gilliam to complete, considering that he's had 3 failed community releases where he violated probation that he was on twice. And so I would demand Mr. Gilliam to legitimate committee on that. He's rated at a moderate risk. He hasn't gotten any DRs, but just need to do his OAP programs.
Yeah, I agree. I hear that he wants to change. He understands to some degree what he's done wrong here, but we really just need to see some evidence based on his past criminal history and record,
Yeah.
Member Sarkoff?
I agree.
All right, let's talk about the reasons. I had poor performance while on community release. That would include this current probation. So he was on probation, I think, when this happened, right?
Right.
And then he's had other failures in the past. So poor performance while on community release will cover all that.
And then the nature and inadequate.
Okay, nature, circumstances, programs, and poor performance while on community release. Then let's talk about when you guys are thinking. I don't really think we can go sooner than 6 months from his eligibility date, which is in January. So I was thinking July of 26, but I don't know what you guys,
So I was thinking 9 months to a year.
What do you think?
I had a July date.
You did July?
Yeah. COS is February 27th.
Yeah, his EOS is only February of 27. So even if we go to July, that's not going to leave him not even a year. Would you be open to July?
Sure, he still has 3 years of probation.
Yeah, so if we did July of 2026, that would be, like 7 or 8 months from now. And he should be able to get these programs in between now and then,
So it's 8 months.
8 months, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty close to what you were thinking.
Yeah, I mean, actually, today it's December 1st.
I just want to make sure he has, we don't want to get too close to that February 27 date.
Right.
So, so he needs to complete positive programs and no DRs.
So OAP and
Positive. Okay. So in regards to Marcus Gilliam's inmate number 363660, I'm going to make a motion to deny discretionary parole today based on the nature and circumstances of the current offense, inadequate institutional program participation, and poor performance while on community release. I'm going to further move to rehear this case in July of 2026 with the following recommendations. Complete any positive programs, including programs on your OAP, and receive no disciplinary reports. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, Mr. Gilliam, did you hear that?
So July, see,
Yeah, July of 2026, okay? I know it's not the news you wanted to hear, but we think it's the best thing for you. We hear that you're heading in the right direction, sir. We just really need to see the programs, like the evidence that you've taken the programs and understand, and then can go back out and not violate probation or parole again.
okay,
Alrighty, good luck to you.
thank you.
That's conclusive. Williams, 363660.
All right, you're next. So, At the last one, Morales.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Morales.
Good morning, ma'am. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025. Excuse me. And this is the hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Parole. The following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutory required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, Robert Sazowski.
Good morning, George Kent.
Morning, Alex Tarkov.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
My name is John Morales, 412728.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for John Morales, 412728. He is serving a sentence of 10 years, execution suspended after serving 3 years, followed by 3 years probation for criminal possession of a pistol or revolver, and he has a violation of probation. The underlying charge is arson charges. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of November 10th, 2025. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows he is currently participating in Tier 2 with an anticipated completion date of December 16th, 2025. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Morales, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
When I was outside, I wasn't taking everything serious, but I would really like to say thank you for having me today. I really think I should receive parole because I'm taking everything the right way, and I'm doing this program just to show that I'm really doing a part of a good thing. So if you guys give me the opportunity, I will at least do my part when I get out and find me a little job so I could at least maintain myself to stay out of trouble.
Okay, thank you very much for your opening statement, Mr. Morales. What's going to happen today is we're going to take turns asking questions. And when we're done, we're going to deliberate, talk about your case, and then give you an answer, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to start with the questions this morning. So we read through your file, and it was unclear to me some of the facts surrounding what took place. You were staying overnight at a friend's house who asked you to help them move, right?
Yes.
And then you left at some point in the early morning hours or late at night, and the person finds their gun missing.
Yes.
And you took the gun, right?
I was stating to parole Logan that I usually took it. And I wasn't on my own reconnaissance because when I got there, I was totally out of it. I was under the influence of a substance. So I didn't recollect if I did took it or how did I took it. So when I did leave that night, I had this bag with clothes, which that same night I ended up tossing in the trash can. So after that, then she was the one who called me and said, well, can you please just return it? And I said, well, I don't got it. I had tossed it away. So that was the whole scenario.
But the gun was in a safe, locked in a safe, right?
No, she actually took it out to show me.
Okay.
And then she had placed it under the pillowcase.
So why would you take it and then go down the street and throw it in the dumpster? I don't understand. I'm not following that.
I really don't even understand myself, sir. Like, I don't even understand half the thing that happened that night. and I wish I could have taken it back, but I couldn't.
What if a kid finds it or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I really wish I was thinking that night, but you know, I didn't even want it. I didn't even want it, that gun. I don't know why I really exactly took it. I just wasn't thinking about it at the time, you know, so.
So you said you were intoxicated. Were you drinking alcohol? Were you using drugs? What was going on?
Well, I was going through a little issue. I was taking PCP. So
Were you drinking also?
no. I call that like a little intoxicate because you can't hardly remember the next day what you should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were on probation when all of this was going on.
Yes, sir.
Were you being drug tested by probation?
Yes, sir.
And what was happening?
Well, he was actually a good person. He was actually helping me with jobs interviews, and he was placing me in job development for classes and programs. It's just I was taking a program like around 9 in the morning to 12, and then from there I couldn't find the exact like time to make for a job. So I had to look for a job for a second shift. So I still stuck. So that's when he started seeing that I needed help. So he placed me in one of those rehabs for like 6 weeks. And then that's when I came out, and then it started over again.
So you were in inpatient for 6 weeks?
Yes, sir.
And then you came out and you started right away. Started using
Yes.
PCP again right away.
I was clean for like at least a week, and then I hit it again.
Why didn't that work?
I don't know. I'll probably be closing myself in my head a little bit because I got 6, 7 kids. So without having a job, they're gonna just start coming to me saying like, why you're not paying? Like they usually did when I was out there. So I really was like frustrated. So I thought that was my way out, which in my recollection, it wasn't, because I kept going down instead of going up.
So what you're saying is the stress from being requested to pay child support
Yes, sir.
was causing you to be triggered to use PCP.
Yes, sir.
So going forward, how are you going to handle stress or stressful situations like that without using drugs?
But right now, this is my second opportunity, if I get granted, to provide at least a good lifestyle, which I hardly got one. But you know, if I get an opportunity like this again, then I'm gonna have to do a great effort to at least do my part, because I got probation after this, so I'm gonna have to at least do a good job.
Yeah, regardless, right? You're going to have 3 years of probation, and it's going to be the same thing. If you're using PCP or other substances or doing things you're not supposed to, you're just going to be back in. You know, you just start all over again. Just going to go round and round. You have to, at some point, you're going to have to put your foot down and you're going to have to man up and stop. You know.
Yes, sir.
So you're in tier 2 now. That's good.
Yes, sir. I was gladly happy that I was almost finishing 2, and you guys, you know, I was really happy.
Well, how much more time do you have? Did they tell you?
So right now, I took 36, like you guys said, and I'm already like in my 18%. I mean, my 50%. That will be 18 months. So if I stay here, then it will be like 18 more months. Sorry.
Well, what about the tier 2 program? I mean, though, how much longer is that going to be?
That'll be the 12/16/2025.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the date that sounds like it's going to finish?
Yes, sir.
What kinds of things are you learning there that can help you when you get out?
Well, right now, I'm learning about self-control and self-perseverance. And I gotta self-control myself and a mindset that I will at least create the possibilities to reach like a goal that I put in my head and just keep going until I hit that goal.
Have they talked to you about developing a relapse prevention plan?
Not yet, sir.
What's your plan? What's your plan to stay sober so that you're not back here?
But right now, I might be thinking that they're gonna give me the rehab group again. So that's like 3 days a week. If wherever I go, I'm still probably gonna do the programs. And after that, then I just gotta find me a job so like that I could be maintaining myself and my kids. And
You're
like
gonna have
that,
you got to take care of yourself first before you're going to be able to take care of your kids. You understand that? You're
Yes,
not going to
sir.
be any good. You're not going to be any good to your kids or to anyone that needs you if you're using PCP. It's not going to be helpful to anybody, you know?
yes, sir.
So you need to get that part straightened out first. So you're saying that you want to go into an outpatient program 3 days a week?
Well, they usually be making, well, not making you, but extending you to a program like that. Because when I was outside, they gave me like a 3-day program, like the village or over there. I was in Renaissance, so that's that's one of them.
But I understand that, and that's definitely going to be helpful to you to have that level of support when you're in the community.
Yes, sir.
But I want to hear from you.
About,
go ahead.
I think getting a sponsor too, I could probably use one of those.
Yes.
Like
That's
a
the kind of
sponsor in
stuff
the house.
you need to have considering your history and the reasons that you're here, you're saying is related to this PCP use, and you really don't even remember what happened. You really need to have a strong plan to deal with this, because the stress of you having to pay child support and the stress of other family issues and life issues is not going to go away when you get out. So that part is still going to be there. You need to find a way to deal with it so that way you don't relapse. You know?
Yes, sir.
And I'm not hearing from you like a strong plan to deal with that. I understand you're saying that probation or parole, they might put you in an IOP. That's what they normally do at Renaissance or something like Wheeler Clinic. I understand they do that, but you need to be prepared in advance before you go out to have a plan. This is what I'm going to do. This is my sponsor. These are places I'm going to go, you know,
Okay.
I want you to be ready, you know, for the stress that's going to come. It's going to happen when you get out. You're going to be stressed out. You know, you have 7 kids, right? It's a big deal.
Yes, sir.
That's a lot of responsibility. That's going to put pressure on you for sure, you know? Have you heard anything about the New Thoughts program? Because I see that that's on your OAP or you're on a wait list for that.
Actually, they never talked to me about that program yet. I really thought that the only one that I was supposed to do was tier 2, you know, and I'm willing to at least take like extra classes to at least just keep my mind focused on like learning, you know.
Okay. How do you think you've changed the most since you've been in prison?
Like a number or just in general?
In general, like what is it that's changed about you the most? Why are you different now? Why are you different now than when you came in?
When I came in, I used to think about it too much. Right now, there's something within me that is making me think about more openly about different stuff other than doing that bad stuff that keeps bringing me here.
So you feel like you're more open to thinking about other things besides drugs and illegal?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because I heard you talk several times about getting a job and wanting to be supportive of your family and stuff.
Yes, sir. That's probably my priority when I get out now. And then the program.
Okay.
And I won't mind doing a couple of classes like at night for like to get like a good job.
Yeah. And like you said, you told me your probation officer was a good guy. They're all like that. They want to help you. It's their job to have you succeed. It's not their job to get you to fail. They want you to have a job and they want you to be in programs and they want you to go through probation, no problems, and then go about living your life and never come back to jail. That's what they want, you know? So
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you're able to recognize and you were at least, he was providing you with stuff, but you didn't take advantage of it, you know? He put you into a program, an inpatient program.
He did. He really did his job.
Before they violated you, they gave you a chance, right? And then you were only out a week, you say, and then you fell back into a relapse.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, I think those are all the questions I have. Let me see what my colleagues have to say, sir, and then we're gonna go from there, okay?
Okay, sir.
All righty, panel member, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Morales.
How you doing, sir?
Well, thank you. Do you consider yourself an addict?
An addict?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You did.
Yes.
Okay. What is your longest period of sobriety in the community?
Right now, when I was outside, I reached at least 4 or 5 months clean.
When was that?
That was when I first got out from my first incarceration.
So what year was that?
If I'm not mistaken, 2021.
Around 2021, you were sober for about 4 to 5 months?
Yeah, around there, yes.
Have you ever attended an AA meetings or anything like that in the community?
Actually, I was actually gonna ask for that one at NA meeting. So like that, I was actually going to one. I think I went like once or twice in Hartford when I was in probation, and they actually was helpful. So I might look into that too.
And you can try to do that in the facility too, right? You could please put your name down.
Yeah, but here you could do that too.
Have you thought about?
The one in that is doing tier 2, he's doing that too.
Have you thought about asking to join?
Yeah, I go ask him. Definitely.
When you were on probation, were you able to finish domestic violence or you didn't complete it?
No, sir. I was actually like in my two classes left, and then I had they had shipped me off to Hartford to start a job, and then I never finished it over there because he wanted me to just started balancing like the program and working, so like that he could put me in the program, so like that I won't fall behind. But I couldn't finish one thing to do another one, so I haven't finished that one either. I did finish it in my last incarceration inside, but I didn't finish it outside.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Morales. I think that's all I have. Thank you, Mr.
You're
Chair.
welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Panel member Chance, do you have anything?
Yeah, Mr. Robert. Do you know what it is to be a responsible adult? What comes to mind?
A responsible adult is thinking like a man and not thinking like a child, and taking care of your family.
So if you understand that and you were experiencing problems with child support, you didn't do the responsible thing. You started smoking PCP,
Yes, we do.
right? And so you need to first understand that if you have a problem with drugs, then you need to take care of that first.
Yes, ma'am.
You were unemployed, using drugs, and not attending your required programs, and you were so heavily under the influence of PCP, as you say, you stole a gun and didn't even remember doing it.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's not being a responsible adult, right?
No, it's not.
So for me, I think you need, just more than the Tier 2 and the New Thoughts program. I think you need some kind of fatherhood program that will help you to understand your responsibility as a father of 7 children.
Okay.
So I do think that you have more work to do on yourself. I'm happy that you're in Tier 2 and that you have not received any disciplinary reports. But I do think that you really need to do some more work on yourself.
Okay.
Okay? All right, I have nothing further. Do you have an OSHA certification?
Yes, I did have an OSHA certification.
It expired or you
And-
still do?
And it's still expired, I think, because it was probably 2 years. And that was in 2015.
Can you go back and do some recertification to get it?
I could try and do it. Yes.
But in the meantime, I don't find you suitable today. I do think you have some more work to do on yourself.
Okay.
Okay? But I think having that OSHA 10 certification would help you. And then when you go out, you can figure out what you need to do in order to support those 7 children.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Chair,
Okay, thank you, Panel Member Chance. Okay, Mr. Morales, so we're done with the questions now. We're going to discuss your case and deliberate, and we're going to give you an answer shortly. During this time, you can listen. Please don't interrupt.
Okay.
All righty, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Morales is here for criminal possession of a pistol or revolver. He was on probation at the time for an arson third, which he violated as a result of this charge. When we asked him about the crime, he really doesn't recall what happened. He knows that the person showed him a gun and he took the gun and likely threw it in the dumpster is the best he can recall, but doesn't know why. States he was using PCP at the time. So when we dug in more about his PCP use, he says that he was having trouble and struggling while on probation, partly because he was triggered through the stress of not being able to pay child support and other life stressors. His probation officer sounds like he recognized what was going on. They put him in an in-treatment program for 6 weeks. He says he's going out for a week, and he went right back to doing the same behaviors again, and then led to this arrest. So all those facts are concerning to me because he's still in a Tier 2 program, and even talking to him, trying to pry for a relapse prevention plan, because he might try to go to NA was the best we could get out of him. It's very concerning because I just feel like we're going to be back where we were before he went in, without the right tools in place and parameters, set up in advance. He says he hopes that maybe his probation or parole officer would put him in an outpatient program, but that's not really the plan because, like he said, well, maybe I should get a sponsor. He started to come around a little bit, but it's just his plan is not there yet for me to feel comfortable with his suitability today. He has a lot of people relying on him. He wants to get a job. He talked about the importance to take care of his family. He understands now that he needs to be a man and not a child. He said some good things in there. He hasn't got any disciplinary reports. That's good. And he seems to be making his way through the Tier 2 program without any problems, as far as I can tell. He does still have the New Thoughts program, according to my records, on a waiting list here. And like you said, he could benefit from certainly a fatherhood program, right? Understanding priorities. and learning about what he should be doing as a father, you know? Councilmember Sarkoff, any?
I agree with what you've stated. Clearly his criminal conduct stems from use of
Yeah.
drugs,
Yeah.
especially PCP, which is really a serious issue. I heard him characterize it as a little issue at one point. He's ready to be put in programs. He stated about how probation and parole may put in programs, but it really needs to start from him.
Yeah.
I'm not really hearing language of sobriety. At the same time, he is doing the tier 2. He hasn't received any tickets. So it's a no for me today. But,
Yeah.
open to a conversation about it here.
Yeah, so you're not interested in the rehab. He's his end of sentence is in March. Looks like March of 2027.
But I think there are other extorts.
Yeah. You don't. So if he were to come back, say for me, if he were to come back in July and have completed tier 2 and completed new thoughts and has an actual relapse prevention plan he can point to, locations of NA meetings, he has reached out to people and set that up, and it's using the language that we're talking about of a person that is prepared to be sober in the community. Now what we're hearing today, I mean, I might go to NA or I should find a sponsor. Those aren't the kinds of things that we want to hear. I mean, I would feel much better about it at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I would support that.
yeah, I would too. If he was saying those things today, you know what I mean? Because he's very close to the end of tier 2. I mean, if he came here today and was, I'm also going to NA meetings. I've reached out to CCAR, NA, whatever. We might be in a different place. I don't know.
Yeah, but it needs to be a real plan.
Yes. So I understand panel members' chance is objection to this. My recommendation would be July 2026, and that it would be positive programs, a robust relapse prevention plan, and no DRs. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And let's talk about the reasons for his denial for today. Had current offense committed while on probation and inadequate program participation. You okay with those two?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, in regards to John Morales, inmate number 412728. Going to make a motion to deny discretionary parole today based on his inadequate institutional program participation and current offense committed while on probation. Further move to rehear this case in July of 2026 with the following conditions. Complete any positive programs, develop a robust relapse prevention plan, and receive no disciplinary reports. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor on the denial? Aye. Okay, Mr. Morales, did you hear all of that?
Yes, sir.
I know it's not what you want to hear today, but we think this is what's in your best interest. We could not find you suitable today for release. We want to see you come. We want to see you come back though in July 2026. Okay.
Okay.
You need to finish the tier 2 program and take any other programs you can. Okay. Maybe fatherhood, maybe new thoughts, things like that. And then you need to have a plan when you come back. I would write it down if I was you. Write it down. Have a plan. These are the things I'm going to do. This is where the NA meetings are, where I live at. This is what I'm going to do. You said you might want to get a sponsor. Put together something. Talk to the people in the tier 2 program. Tell them you need to put together a written plan so you can describe it to us.
Okay.
All righty. And no disciplinary reports. You're already doing that, but just keep that going.
Okay.
All righty. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
2728.
All right, have a good day.
All set, free, thank you.
Are you ready? For the case review? I'm ready. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025. This is the case review for Douglas Taylor, inmate number 187390 at the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles to remove a special parole condition. The following board members of the president this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutory documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Robert Sazowskis.
George Chance.
Alex Sarkov.
Has the board reached a decision?
Thank you very much. So I think we're going to deliberate a little bit and talk about this case. Mr. Taylor has been afforded to us for a case review. We're talking about an ask to remove victim LT as a no contact. You know, my review of the case, it looks like this person is a no contact without the parole officer's permission from every document that I've looked at. You know, I understand he submitted documents that stated that there were some cases that were annulled or dismissed, but this person's name is involved in the robbery conviction, you know? So this person's name stemmed from that incident. So for me, I don't see any reason to take any action when this stipulation already says that they're not to have any contact without the parole officer's permission. So
I believe it back and read the written decision. They had a reason for putting it on.
they did, I did read it. I did read that too. And that was not based on, it was based on the facts in the PSI that I read from the robbery case, not from any other case.
Right.
And, you know, if the parole officer feels it's appropriate, which I can't tell from here, if it's appropriate to have contact, that option is available through this step. It says without the parole officer's permission.
Right.
You know, his term of parole and special parole has been a rocky road, you know? And I just don't see the need to change this at this point. I don't think he has a lot of time left. I think we're just talking about 4 months.
Couple months.
Yeah. So
Everything.
are you okay with taking no action? Okay. In regards to Douglas Taylor, inmate 187390, I'm gonna make a motion that we take no action on this request. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
This concludes the case review for Douglas Taylor, 187390. It also concludes the Brooklyn Correctional Hearing. It is 11:52 a.m.